In this video, I'm going to go over the results of the phishing IQ test with you to help you to understand what sorts of things you should look for when you're checking whether or not an email may be a phishing attempt trying to get information about you. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this link to take the phishing IQ test. If you haven't taken the test yet, please do so in just a moment after I show you how the test is set up. I'm just going to scroll down and look at this first email, and this phishing IQ test wants me to identify this, whether I think it's legitimate or whether it's phishing. Now this first one maybe is a little confusing because it doesn't look like a typical email that you would receive. It's not like a text-based email that asks you to click a link and check on things. There's actually not much text to this email at all. But here's how this is set up. These phishing IQ test pages have the email address of the person sending the email at the top. So this came from expense-no-reply@chromefile.com. For each of these, you're going to have to assume that you are a user of the product in the email or that you're an employee of the business in the email. Okay, so like if it's an email from PayPal, just assume that you have a PayPal account and you're receiving this email from PayPal asking about your account. And then you have to ask yourself whether or not these are phishing or legitimate emails. Now keep in mind, these are all actual emails that people actually received that are legitimate or phishing. So sometimes you'll see these gray boxes in emails blocking out information. You can ignore those gray boxes. Those were actual names of people or email addresses, and those are just being withheld from you so that you don't actually see people's personally identifiable information in this. So if you received an email like this from Chrome River, from chromefile.com, it says that there's one expense report not submitted, and it lists the owner of the report, it lists what it is. Notice there's no links in this email or anything. Would you identify this as a legitimate email or as a phishing email? Go ahead and scroll back up and then click on whether you think it's legitimate or phishing. Now I just want to mention in the future emails for the rest of this test, after you click on legitimate or phishing for this one, they're going to look a lot more like regular emails that you would receive from businesses and from people. So if you haven't taken the test yet, you should pause the video now, take the test, identify the emails as legitimate or phishing, and then once you're finished and you're on the results page, resume this video and I will go through the results with you to help you understand why some of these things could be identified as phishing emails. So at this point, you should have taken the phishing IQ test. Your grade does not matter on the test except to yourself. How good were you at identifying which emails were trying to collect information? Remember, all of these emails are real. The phishing emails were really sent to real people trying to collect their personal information. Let's go through and look at some reasons why phishing emails are phishing emails and how you know if something is legitimate. I'm just going to click on the why for each of these emails and we'll go through what the Sonicwall site has to say about them. For this first email, notice that the email address that it was sent from was one that you would expect. So it's from chromefile.com. The title of the email at the top here was a Chrome River unsubmitted reports email. And it says here Chrome River. So it seems like the recipient, so it seems like the sender of this email was the actual person who should be sending it, who you would expect to get it from. The other thing to me that makes this not a phishing email is that they don't ask you to click on any links or submit any information. Presumably what you would need to do is log in to Chrome River and actually finish up whatever report you are supposed to submit. So it's not actually collecting any information in any way. This is a legitimate email. The next one, though, is a phishing email. And there are some things that flag this immediately as a phishing email. One thing that flags emails a lot of times as phishing emails is the language that's used. It's English, and it's proper English, but it's also just a little bit too proper. Overuse of adverbs usually indicates that the email is not coming from somebody who's a native English speaker, and it could potentially be a phishing email. Now, there are honestly people at PayPal that are not native English speakers that may use adverbs in their writing. But if you read it and it doesn't sound like a sentence you would normally hear an English speaker use, it is kind of easy to flag that way. But there's a lot of other flags too. So if you're not good at picking out that red flag for phishing emails, there are some other things to look for. For example, if you got an email from PayPal, it would come from paypal.com. If you get an email from your bank, it's going to come from a domain at your bank's website. It's not going to come from something similar. So this is from @paypal.com. That is a fake domain that is set up to look like paypal.com, but it's not. Another thing, if an email says "Dear Customer," "Dear Sir or Madam," instead of addressing you directly by name, if an email was coming from PayPal to me and it was legitimate, I would expect them to put my name in the email because they're going to have people that can code it to do that. And then finally, this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest way to identify whether or not an email is a phishing email. If there's a link in the email that you can click to go to a place to enter your username and password, be suspicious. Okay, be very suspicious of that email if there's a link to click where it asks you to click that link and enter your username and password. If PayPal were actually to send you an email about your account being suspended and problems with your account, they would ask you to go to the PayPal website, like paypal.com, that you know is legitimate, and log in from there to confirm your identity. So this is definitely an attempt to phish. One other technique that's extremely useful, you weren't able to actually do this during the test, but a technique for checking to see whether an email is legitimate is to hover over any links with the mouse. And if you hover over a link in the email with your mouse, the link address will pop up like this. Okay, so if I hovered over the confirm identity button, I would see the link that it's asking me to visit, and I see that it's accountcenter.pp.net, which doesn't even match the domain address where the email was sent from, paypal.com, and that is a phishing site. Like, it's meant to collect your information. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. The OneDrive email with the proposal PDF is maybe not a phishing email, but this is definitely a malicious attack email. They want you to click on this proposal draft PDF because there's code in here that's going to be malware on your computer. So you'll notice that there's some things that flag this that way. There's grammar errors in here. Presumably behind this box is somebody's name. So if I just use my name, if somebody says Kevin share a document with you instead of Kevin shared a document with you, that's a problem. That's not correct grammar. Listen to the next sentence. Review amendment draft and comment as require instead of comment as required. So this is not a legitimate email, partly because of the grammar and partly because of this link. If you hover over the link, look at where the link leads to a bit.ly address, which is an address that has been shortened, so you're not able to see what the actual address is that you're clicking on. Anytime you see a bit.ly link, sometimes they're fine. Like, sometimes they're just shortened links that are easy for you to see and copy and paste somewhere. But if it's something that you're clicking on in an email and you don't know where that link is going to take you, that's a bad thing. So this was a phishing email. Let's look at the next one from TD Bank. Also a phishing email. Again, like you could tell from the language, and in this case, it makes it sound very urgent that you respond to this. Otherwise, they're going to lock down your account and you're going to lose money. A bank would never send you an email saying that you're going to lose money if you don't take care of something. Like, they won't take your money away from you because of some kind of suspicious activity in your account. If they did, they definitely wouldn't communicate it to you through an email. So just so you know, if you ever get a phone call from the IRS saying that you owe money and you have to pay something right now, if you ever get an email saying you have to pay something right now, otherwise you're gonna lose money or have legal ramifications, be suspicious that it's probably somebody trying to get your money who's not legitimately with the institution they claim they're with. Also, again, there's a link in here to click to reactivate something, and that link would take you to a malicious website. So if this was really from TD Bank, they would ask you to go to their bank's website and click the link to log in. All right, the next one from HubSpot. This is a legitimate email. Notice that it correctly identifies you. It is from billing@hubspot.com, and it's a website from hubspot.com. It has all sorts of links to their main website here. The tone of the email sounds correct. The look of it is very professional. And if you want to visit your account in billing, you can click on this link and be taken to the HubSpot page to log in. So their links just take you to their website, their actual website. So this is a legitimate email. Let's go on to the next one. This one was a phishing email from DHL. Notice that they just have a floating graphic here that doesn't look good with the background. Unlike HubSpot's email, which looked very concise and professional, this one just has this floating graphic here that doesn't really fit. The email wording has way too many adverts. To confirm accordingly if your address is correct, before we submit to outlet office for dispatch to your destination, it doesn't sound right. The tone of the email doesn't sound right. Also, again, there's a link in here that you can click to update your info instead of going to the DHL website. And I like this at the bottom, customers, possessive customers care instead of customer care. So this one is obviously not something you would want to click on. And then lastly, the email from ANZ Bank is a malicious email. Again, it sounds urgent. It sounds like there's an emergency, and if you don't take care of something right now, your account is going to be terminated. A bank would never communicate that to you in an email. There is a link here, and if you hover over the link, you can see that it doesn't actually lead to the place where the link was supposed to. So you couldn't have done this when you took the test, but just know that is a huge, important technique for you to know when checking to see whether an email is malicious. And then lastly, grammatical errors in the bottom. ANZ Bank should be all caps like it is in their logo. There's a lot of things in this email that would flag it as suspicious. This would be a malicious email. So just to recap, ways that you can tell that emails are malicious emails: if they don't come from the website or a known address that you would expect them to come from, that would lead you to be suspicious. If they contain links where you can go to fix account problems, that's suspicious. Any credible organization would just send you to their homepage where you can log in from their homepage, not from a link in the email. And then grammar errors, when you read the email, if it sounds suspicious, it probably is.